To the members of the team, they have so far treated 60 cases in 5 days and are also planning to do a joint venture with the Rotary Club of Fajara with the goal of improving the infrastructure of the clinic. New equipment that will be used during operations as well as staff training. To be able to perform these kinds of operations, one needs a lot of experience.
We want to send staff members to Germany. The project is Dr. Lee is doing a lot of work here and a wonderful work, but every year we have more cases. They are really difficult.
Yes.
And
yes.
and to save more lives, we need an upgrade of our medical equipment.
Yes.
That means we need some new equipment and some better equipment to do more operations. And 3 staff members should go to Germany to train on this equipment.
The Rotary Club of Fajara has been in existence for over 12 years and has made numerous contributions to the Gambian society through various initiatives. Among their aims and objectives are to work together to make a positive contribution in their communities and the world at large. Members of the Rotary Club of Fajara and staff were later taking on a conducted tour of the facility. For Grts News, I am Fatou Janembai. Well, CAR's interim president, Catherine Samba Penza, jets into Brazzaville with a plea message for help in ending her country's recent political and sectarian conflict, and a little despite, at least for now. Serious warring factions agreed to open safe passage for desperate civilians to leave the heavily contested city of Homs. We'll be back with those stories after this break.
The Gambia Tourism Board proudly presents the 2nd edition of the Food and Beverage Festival in the Smiley Coast of Africa, the Gambia. Date on Saturday and Sunday, February 8 and February 9th, 2014. The 2nd edition of the Food and Beverage Festival will be happening at the Green Mamba Gardens and Jacarlo Bar and Restaurant in Senegambia. Entertainment will be provided by the King of Kora, Jaliba Kuyate, and the Kumare Band will be present.
Food and Beverage Festival at home 8 and 9 better
There will be live performances by Gambian artists, drummers, acrobats, singing competition, eating competition, wrestling competition, and many more. Prepare yourself for local and international cuisines, for they will be there in abundance. Entrance fee is only $100. Proudly sponsored by Banjul Breweries and
the Gambia's fastest and cheapest 4G fixed wireless internet. With QCell's 4G, you can access the internet at unbeatable speeds on your laptop or desktop computer. You can also use your mobile or tablet to browse the internet via Wi-Fi. QCell's 4G internet can keep you connected either in your home or in your office. For a limited time, get 50% off regular equipment and 100% off corporate equipment, as well as free installation and free QCell credit.
For more information, call 333-3222 or customer care on 111. You can also visit www.qcell.gm.
QCell 4G internet. Fast, affordable and reliable. QCell. Sunibus. The Gambia's quality network.
Welcome back, and over now to news beyond our borders. Central African Republic's interim president, Catherine Samba Penza, is in Brazzaville for her first official visit since becoming president of CAR. President Penza met with her host, President Denis Sassou Nguesso, who is mediating in the conflict. The CAR interim president calls for support from her regional colleagues to find a peaceful end to the sectarian conflict in her country. We have details in this report.
Samba Penza made her first official foreign visit since being elected interim president of the Central African Republic. She is in Brazzaville, Congo, to meet with President Sassou Nguesso, who is acting as mediator in talks to end the Central African crisis. President Samba Penza said the situation in her country remains extremely complicated. I came to power 15 days ago. In 15 days, I can't work miracles. But we are determined to succeed. That is why I am counting on other regional leaders. Congo has lost a number of its soldiers in the CAR since the crisis broke. President Nguesso is one of Africa's most influential leaders, and President Samba Panza is counting on his help. She hopes the same of the Chadian President, Idriss Déby Itno, especially as 205 former Seleka rebels fled the Central African Republic to regroup in Doba in southern Chad. They brought with them 300 heavy caliber weapons, thousands of munitions, and 23 pickup trucks. An impressive arsenal. The Chadians are our brothers, and we turned over our weapons to them. We don't want the French to get mixed up in this affair. President Samba Panza is calling on the Chadian government to increase its surveillance of the former rebels in Doba. They have already urged their brothers in arms to keep fighting. Central Africa's interim government says that as long as they remain at large, they present a threat to the country's stability.
Bosnia's old city of Sarajevo resembles a war zone as rampaging youths set fire to government buildings across the city. Reports say more than 150 people have been injured in the two-day protest, and for the first time in history, a member of the Spanish royal family stands in the dock. That unenviable record was set by the youngest daughter of King Juan Carlos, Katrina, who faced charges in the city of Mallorca to answer alleged fraud charges. We have details of that and other stories in this news roundup.
Protesters in Bosnia's capital Sarajevo set fire to government buildings in countrywide riots that left over 150 injured. The city braced itself for further protests after 3 consecutive days of anger over the dire state of the Balkan country's economy, where unemployment stands at 44% and 1 in 5 people live below the poverty line. The unrest is occurring 20 years after the country's bloody inter-ethnic war. Ukraine launched a terror probe Saturday into a bid by an apparently drunk man to gain access to the cockpit to force an airliner flying to Turkey to land in Sochi, where leaders gathered for the opening of the Winter Olympics. 2 F-16 Turkish jets forced down the airliner at Istanbul's airport. The drunken man was arrested and found not to have guns or explosives. First, her lawyers entered the court. Then Spain's Princess Cristina did on the island of Mallorca for a fraud hearing. King Juan Carlos' youngest daughter, who is 48, went to answer fraud accusations in an historic first for the scandal-hit royal Spanish family. Her husband, Iñaki Erdogan, was summoned to appear before the same judge 2 years ago and was indicted for laundering allegedly embezzled money.
Desperate civilians caught up in the more than 2-year civil war in Syria are having a moment of reprieve. Hundreds have been given safe passage to leave the heavily contested city of Homs. This comes after the two sides agreed to a ceasefire to allow civilians, mainly women and children, chance to leave the battered city. We have details in this report.
Been declared in Homs to allow the evacuation of civilians whom fighting has trapped in the old city for a year and a half. The ceasefire is being hailed as a milestone in peace negotiations between the Syrian government and the rebellion, currently being held in Geneva. However, the evacuation appears more symbolic than practical. Only 83 of the some 2,500 residents were evacuated on Saturday. The Syrian government is allowing the evacuation of women, children, and men older than 55, and permitting the delivery of food and supplies to those who remain. For many, it is the end of a nightmare. But for younger men, suspected of belonging to the rebellion, the government has left them no choice but to stay behind. Residents here say that bread has not been available for months, and that many of them were gathering weeds and leaves to eat. One of the appeals for aid comes from a 77-year-old Dutch Catholic priest who has lived in Syria for nearly 50 years. He is refusing to leave, saying that his mission is to support the residents left behind. There's almost no food left. Hunger slowly but surely eats away at the body. A UN representative said the evacuees were being taken to destinations of their own choosing. The evacuation is seen as the first step in peace negotiations scheduled to resume in Geneva on Monday. That said, mortar fire was heard early on Saturday morning. Both the Syrian government and rebels have accused one another of breaking the truce.
And before we end this edition of the news, a quick reminder of our headline-making stories. President International Award has rewarded deserving members